Earlier this week, Seoul proposed military talks to Pyongyang to clarify the military demarcation line. Now, the regime has not yet responded and instead issued a commentary denouncing the recently unveiled joint fact sheet between Seoul and Washington. For more on this, we invite our defense correspondent Kim Bo-kyung into the studio. Bo-kyung, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
So, Bo-kyung, let's start with South Korea proposing military talks to North Korea. Let's start with that.
Right, yes. So on Monday, South Korea's defense ministry proposed holding military talks with North Korea for the first time since President Lee Jae-myung took office in June. They would be to discuss how to clarify boundaries of the military demarcation line in a bid to prevent possible clashes near the inter-Korean border. You see, since North Korean leader Kim Jong-un described the two Koreas as two hostile states in the 2023, North Korean soldiers have temporarily and repeatedly crossed the MDL to get some jobs done, such as planting mines and reinforcing barbed wire fences. Every time the North Korean soldiers cross the line, the South Korean military has sent warning messages and fired warning shots. But fundamentally, defense officials believe such intrusions could have happened as the indicators, the signposts marking the land border made after the signing of the armistice in 1953 have mostly been lost. Only 200 out of a little less than 1,300 are still there. There were, of course, previous efforts to maintain these markers, with Seoul trying to repair them under the UN's supervision in 1973, but was halted after North Korean gunfire. Now, Seoul had already tried to reach out to the regime through the UN Command's communication channel, but received no response and had to resort to proposing talks through a press briefing on Monday. So if talks do take place, the most urgent agenda would be restoring the communication line.
If a military working-level meeting takes place, there will need to be steps to build mutual trust and to prevent accidental clashes in the DMZ. For that, restoring the military communication lines is urgently needed, so it will likely be a major topic of discussion.
So, Bo-kyung, like you mentioned, it's been a few days since South Korea proposed military talks to North Korea and no response yet, right?
Right, it has not responded yet. Rather, North Korea issued a commentary on Tuesday saying the fact sheet between the U.S. and South Korea formalizes a confrontational stance against Pyongyang and that it will take countermeasures to safeguard its own sovereignty. On the U.S. approval for South Korea to build nuclear-powered submarines, the regime criticized it as a grave development that destabilizes not only the military and security landscape of the Korean Peninsula, but the entire Asia-Pacific region. And it further called South Korea's pursuit of nuclear submarines a stepping stone for its own nuclear armament, and warned that this will inevitably trigger a nuclear dominant effect and spark arms races in the region. Now, when asked how the regime's response is going to be, experts agreed that the regime is strategically ignoring Seoul's calls and will continue to.
North Korea now sees inter-Korean ties as being between two separate states, so they're taking physical steps, like putting up fences and building access roads, to create a real border. Because of that, they're not going to hold talks or do anything to improve relations.
Because they're holding to their two-state policy, agreeing to a military working-level meeting would basically mean giving that up, so it won't be easy for North Korea to respond positively.
Now, Bo-kyung, also this week, former U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said that there would be virtually no way to persuade the regime to renounce its nuclear programs. What was that about?
Right. So during a forum, former top diplomat Mike Pompeo, who was in charge of nuclear talks between North Korea and the U.S. in 2018 and 2019, said that there are no carrots to engage North Korea with, and that the number of sticks is low as well.
Okay.
He added that if he could do it differently, he would focus on China and deter it from using North Korea as a strategic tool. But experts say it is not that there are no carrots to offer to the regime, but rather the U.S. needs to make a big decision to admit that the North is a nuclear state. And they also added that Pyongyang would not listen to Beijing either.
To get North Korea on board, we need to give them some level of recognition as a nuclear state and take bold steps, like pausing U.S.-South Korea military exercises, so talks can restart. That could create conditions for North Korea to at least freeze its nuclear program. But the problem is that there's no leadership willing to offer even these basic incentives right now.
In the past, there were attempts to use China's influence to achieve denuclearization or influence North Korea, but North Korea doesn't really listen to China. They focus on 주체 and independence and ignore other countries. So the only real option is for North Korea and the U.S. to make a direct deal.
Well, anything can happen under the Trump administration. Bo-kyung, thanks for coming in tonight.
Thank you.